Imagine the sun dropping below the horizon. The world goes completely black. There are no streetlights, no screens, no glowing alarm clocks. Just deep, terrifying darkness filled with the sounds of predators snapping twigs in the distance. For most of human history, the night was something to survive, not enjoy. Every shadow could hide a leopard, and every rustle could mean death. But then, a flicker of orange light changed human biology forever. What did our ancient ancestors actually do in the dark? You might think they simply huddled together and slept, but the truth, hidden deep in human history and our very own DNA, tells a completely different story. For thousands of years, experts believed ancient people simply shut their eyes when the sun went down and waited for morning. The logic was simple. Without light, there was nothing else to do. But recent archaeological clues have turned this idea upside down. The dark hours weren't just a time for rest. They were the most important hours of human existence. What happened in the shadows didn't just keep our ancestors alive. It is the exact reason our brains grew, our societies formed, and our imaginations exploded into the modern world. To understand what was really happening out there in the dangerous dark, we have to look closely at a single spark. Over 1 million years ago, in places like Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa, early humans finally figured out how to control fire. This was not just a convenient way to cook meat or scare off cave lions. It created a completely new physical and social space, the campfire. This simple ring of stones completely changed how time worked. Before fire, humans had to eat fast, climb a tree, and hide from the terrors of the night. After fire, the days suddenly became longer. But they didn't use these extra hours to hunt or gather food. Scientists later discovered that this glowing circle fundamentally changed human conversation. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner spent a massive amount of time living with the Juhowansi Bushmen in the Kalahari Desert, studying people who still live much like our ancient ancestors did. She noticed something amazing that connects straight back to our past. During the bright hours of the day, people talked almost entirely about practical things. They complained about the weather, argued about food, or gossiped about their neighbors. It was purely survival and social management. But when night fell, the conversation completely shifted. However, that wasn't the biggest surprise. Around the fire, the practical world melted away. Suddenly, people were telling elaborate stories. They talked about the spirit world, sang songs, and shared grand myths about the stars. The dancing shadows of the flames actually triggered a change in human psychology. The mesmerizing flicker allowed our ancestors to imagine things that were not directly in front of them. It lowered their stress and opened their minds. It was right there in the dark, staring into the glowing embers, that human culture was actually born. But something even stranger was happening deep underground. If you travel to the ancient caves of Chauvet or Lascaux in France, you will find some of the oldest and most beautiful paintings in the world. For a long time, experts wondered why humans crawled deep into terrifying pitch-black tunnels just to paint horses, mammoths, and lions. They weren't decorating their living rooms because they didn't live in the deep parts of the caves. So why go into the dangerous dark? Recent studies tested how these ancient paintings look under the flickering, uneven light of a small torch. The results gave researchers absolute chills. The animals aren't just drawn randomly on a flat wall. They are painted over the bumps and curves of the rock so that when the firelight dances across them, the animals appear to physically move. They look like they are breathing, running, and jumping. Ancient humans were not just drawing pictures. They were creating the world's first movies, using the absolute darkness of the cave as their cinema. The real answer to how they experienced the night is far more unexpected. Even when they finally closed their eyes to rest, their nights did not look like ours. If you go to bed at 10 at night and wake up at 6 in the morning, you are doing something entirely modern. Historian Roger Eckert spent decades reading old texts and medical books. He found that for almost all of human history, people did not sleep in one long, unbroken block. They experienced something called segmented sleep. When it got completely dark, ancient people slept for about 4 hours. This was called the first sleep. Then they naturally woke up. For a magical hour or two in the middle of the night, the whole tribe was awake. This was not a stressful time like waking up at 3 in the morning today. It was a time of deep peace. People would add wood to the fire, talk quietly with their family, or just lie awake thinking. Their brains released a massive amount of a chemical called prolactin, a hormone that makes you feel deeply relaxed and connected to others. After this peaceful period, they naturally drifted back to bed for a second sleep until morning. What happened next changed everything. The invention of artificial light slowly erased this ancient natural rhythm. First came street lamps, then the bright electric light bulb, pushing the darkness away completely. We forced ourselves into a rigid 8-hour sleep schedule, and in the process, we lost the quiet magic of the middle of the night. We turned the dark into a problem to be solved with brighter bulbs and endless glowing screens. Today, we constantly run from the dark. We fill our nights with noise and blue light, terrified of missing out or simply being alone with our own thoughts. But for millions of years, the night was not a scary void waiting to be filled with distractions. It was a canvas. It was the only time the busy, terrifying world of survival finally paused, allowing human beings to look up at the stars, share their wildest dreams, and connect in the warm glow of a fading fire. We didn't just survive the darkness is exactly what made us human.